You had something really good going, and then you just were like, let's just make the ending fucking suck. Let's just shit our pants during the ending of the movie. And then we'll say, fuck you, thanks for paying $14.99 to watch it on VOD, you fucking moron. Don't ever buy our shit again. That'll teach you, you little fucker, to watch our movie, you piece of shit. Gonna be a one-time setup. I'm almost certain of. Is that better? Welcome back to another episode of Dante's Drive-In. We're gonna make this one quick and brief. Said me every other time we've done a Dante's Drive-In, and I always incessantly ramble forever. Resident Evil 2021, Welcome to Raccoon City, or whatever the fuck they want to call it, was gonna be on this drive-in, but it's being pushed to next drive-in because I want to get this drive-in out of the way. So yes, it will be technically being featured on the Christmas special of the Dante's Drive-In, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's where it's going to end up at. We're going to start with the movie I saw the longest time ago, and that was Escape Room 2. Oh my god. Okay, a lot of the movies on this list were kind of shitty, now that I think about it. Most of the time when I do a Dante's Drive-In, I'm saying a lot of nice things about movies, but there was a lot of shit movies I saw recently. Escape Room 2 was one of those shit movies. This movie was borderline unwatchable. The only reason I did sit through the whole thing was because I was watching it with people. I haven't looked into what the greater critical consensus was of this movie, but we all fucking hated it. I saw the first Escape Room when it first came out. In theaters. That was the only time I watched it. I remember thinking, oh, that was fun, up until the last, 5 minutes, and then the movie was like,
we're gonna make a Escape Room cinematic universe.
And they set up this crazy supervillain that only showed up at the very end, and he had, a warped voice. He was, Cobra Commander, and they were setting up this whole fucking lore around these escape rooms. Having seen the second one, and this is the one that apparently delves into that lore, I'm surprised that Escape Room was even the kind of movie that they would give a second movie that would, specifically be striking on, shit they set up in the first movie. I was so certain that Escape Room 2 was going to be one of those movies that, is called Escape Room 2, but has different characters, and basically just rehashes the first movie just with different rooms, I would imagine, and you don't really learn that much else about it. I felt like it was going to be one of those things where the name Escape Room wasn't more of the name of the first movie, but more of just the concept of an escape room, which everyone is so fucking obsessed with now. As a person who has to escape from deadly situations often, escape rooms aren't fun. They're boring, in fact. Everyone's always like, you want to go to an escape room? No, I don't want to go to an escape room. Let's go play laser tag. Can we play laser tag? They should make a movie about laser tag. Oh, I guess they kind of did. Escape Room 2, though, is actually a direct sequel to the first one, shockingly. It contains many of the same characters that survived the first film. Really, there's only 2 of them, but whatever. Yeah, they try to half-ass explain the lore of the Escape Room cinematic universe, and it's called Tournament of Champions. I think that's the official title. Oh boy. Okay, what did I hate about the movie? Well, the rooms themselves. In the first movie, the rooms were they really put a lot of thought into them. And they were okay, this room, the gimmick is the walls close in on you. This room, the gimmick is the room gets hotter. This room, it gets colder. This room, the floor falls out. In the new one, it's well, the gimmick on this one is it's a beach. And the gimmick of this one is it's a city. They didn't put any level of fucking thought into the gimmick of the room beyond, what it's gonna look like. It's they came up with what the room was, and then designed what the traps and shit were. Which, that's not really even an element of escape rooms, it's the traps. So, with them having a room that was, a bunch of lasers, depending on what part of the floor you stepped on, that's more like Cube, or Saw. You know, that's not an escape room. The first movie, it was like, you have to escape the room because we have some situation that's gradually becoming worse. It's not like there's a bunch of death traps in the room. The musical chairs thing with the floors falling out in the first movie, that was the most impressive room that they had ever done. And it was like they had designed what the threat was and then designed a room that would accommodate that. Like, oh, a room that's cold. Well, what if it's a log cabin? A room that's hot. Well, that's like the lobby, so it's unassuming. A floor that drops out. What if the ceiling is the floor? Like, you know, shit like that. Like, they designed that next. This one, though, it was like, well, it'd be cool to have a beach. It'd be cool to have a city. It'd be cool to have fucking... I can't even remember some of the traps that were in... there was a bank, I think, and there was, like, lasers everywhere. It was just dumb. It was just so stupid. And in the first movie, like, while it was very fucking ridiculous that there'd even be a secret shadow organization that would be making escape rooms for whatever fucking purpose, why they were doing it, I don't know. And they don't really even explain it in this one. If they did, I just wasn't paying attention. I was incredulous most of the runtime of this film. It almost became a running joke in the movie, where, like, you'd get to some random room that was just for us to have a conversation or something, and then they'd be like,
"Oh shit! Joke's on you, fucking moron. It's an escape room. You got fucking played."
I gotta go to the bathroom, guys. You go in the bathroom, and then all of a sudden it's like, huh! The bathroom's an escape room! Hurry up and stick your hand in the toilet to find a way out!
Every character in this movie, there aren't characters. There are pawns that are supposed to explain the game to you so you can feel like you're figuring it out with them. When really, they're just like speaking everything out loud and very matter-of-factly so that the audience, because we're all glue-eating fucking morons, we're not going to understand what's going on. We can't piece it together, okay? So they're going to tell us, and then we can sit there and go, oh, the rocks are magnets. That's how they move the bars, because it's a magnet. Because then when the character will get it, he'll be like, it's a magnet! I can move the bars with this magnet! Like, they have to, like, speak it to you. And it's so, like, cynical and pandering and just makes you feel like the movie believes you are the dumbest person ever. Which, if you're watching Escape Room 2, you probably are. Hence why I watched it. Escape Room 2 sucks. Moving on.
I'm at Cedar Park. I'm gonna check the area to see if there's any remains. Damn it. It's kind of cold. God damn it. Fucking thing.
Okay, next we got Great White, which is a Shudder exclusive about a great white that attacks people. Great White is a shark movie, a killer shark movie. There are some of those in existence. I happen to be a connoisseur of killer shark films, and being that as I am that thing that I just said, I can tell you that Great White is not very good. I watched it with a pretty good crowd, as in other people that like killer shark movies, and we all were kind of bored and talked over it, and when something cool did happen, it didn't. Like, the shark itself is made with horrifically bad CGI. There is a practical shark later on in the movie that looks pretty good, but you don't see that shark until the very end, and the rest of the time you're stuck with like a Sci-Fi Channel, very cheap, compositely made shark. The underwater footage is breathtakingly beautiful. And I was like, the second I saw the underwater footage, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be like really gorgeous to look at, isn't it? And it wasn't. Because when the shark shows up, I was like, damn it, that like really sucked the air out of the movie. The movie was pretty good, and then that shark popped up. When it first attacks the plane, if you've seen the movie, shark comes up and attacks the plane, and you're like, oh god, that's the shark we're going with? is that the shark the whole movie? And they're like, yeah, we're sorry, it is. So that was a bit of a bummer. The movie is also one of those killer shark movies. It seems like no one can come up with a concept for a killer shark movie that isn't just people stuck in one area getting picked off by a shark. Open Water did it, and then we had like Bait, which is I think a pretty solid killer shark movie, at least had the unique idea of like, well, what if they're stuck in a grocery store on top of grocery aisles? Haven't seen that before. Flood the grocery store. You know, flood a mall. That'd be interesting. Flood just a town in general. Have people on rooftops. That's a good way to get the shark to come to you. Because Jaws did the whole, if you go swimming, you get eaten. But in every killer shark movie, it can't just be people recreational swimming, because then it would come off like we've seen this before. Great White tries to get the people, their plane crashes, they're on a little raft, and they're getting picked off. But yet the shark in this movie is depicted as taking down a fucking plane, and for whatever reason can't take down their inflatable raft. Nobody gets eaten on screen in this movie. There are no good kills. I didn't have any tension during the movie because it's one of those movies that likes to set up characters that are like really intentionally unlikable and hateable. Like there's no redeeming quality. They're just like,
I'm a fucking asshole, and I hate everyone, and it's your fucking fault we're out here, even though it's actually my fault, and they've shown that the whole movie, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to get everyone on this fucking raft killed, and while I'm doing it, I'm gonna be a fucking asshole.
And then you're like, wow, I hope that guy gets eaten by a shark. And he does. But when he does, you don't see it. Like, you see nothing. Every shark kill in this movie is people getting pulled underwater, and then they're gone. Because they don't have a shark to show you. And then at the end of the movie, there's kind of a unique set piece with like a half-sunk ship, and the shark's coming at the two leads in the movie, and they kill it somehow. I forget how they even kill it. Great White was a bit of a disappointment, and that sucks. And also, I think I would have been a little bit softer on this movie had it come out in the summer, but November is just not a time to watch a killer shark movie. This should have come out in June or July. It would have been great disposable entertainment then. As of right now, if we're talking about isolated in one place killer shark movies, there's a lot of better ones out there. There's also a lot of better shark movies in general. I think right before watching this, my buddy and I watched a trailer for Deep Blue Sea 3, which I have never seen. But that movie, even, like, the CGI sharks in that movie looked better than this. And that's like a shitty direct-to-TV, DVD, whatever, you know, sequel to Deep Blue Sea, which Deep Blue Sea is an awesome killer shark movie. I don't know. I was a bit let down by Great White. Moving on.
Shit. Green Ice HQ. Yeah, there's not much left of them. Dante pretty much fucked them up real good. Okay, I'll keep looking. Can't fucking see out of this thing. Fuck! Oh shit. Ow! There's thorns! Ow! Ow! Perfect. Green Ice HQ. I found a little baby pumpkin here that might still have some Jack Carver juices flowing through it. Roger, coming back to base camp.
Okay, next we got Antlers. Antlers fucking sucked. It sucked. You see what I'm saying? There's movies on here I enjoyed, but the ones that I didn't, oh boy, I didn't. Antlers, on top of just being a dull, boring, uninteresting, slow, disjointed,
Unengaging, dreary, forgetfulness
of a movie, with some cool moments. There's a cool monster in it, there's some cool kills in it, but you gotta sit through a lot of shit to get to them, and there's no interesting characters to maintain your interest to those points. And it's like a movie that really felt like it was being like one of those kind of like more like genre transcending monster movies. Like you don't even call it a monster movie. It's more than that. But really that's what it is. It's just a monster movie. And I thought it was going to try and swerve me and do more than that, because it was being so slow and trepidatious about what it was and wasn't showing you. But then by the time the movie ended and there's this crazy monster fight in a mine shaft with a fucking spear, I'm like, oh, this is just a monster movie. And also, it's one of those monsters that, like, they don't show a whole lot. When you do see it, it's cool, but they all make the same noise. Alien happened, and then everyone decided that that's what a monster that we've never seen before would sound like. The little, like the clicking and popping sounds. Like, it's Cloverfield monster, it's the Super 8 monster, it's Alien, it's fucking everything. Everything has that same fucking noise. Annihilation is one of the only monster movies I've seen recently that had a different sound for their monster. It sucks! Your monster, because they can't have the monster fucking roar, because then it's gonna sound like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and that's what everyone, you know, the cliche of the roar monster. So then, like, now every monster has to be this weird, like, throaty, chortling noise, and I don't know, just kind of bland, I guess. I don't know anything about Wendigos. I've never seen one in real life. I've looked into them, but like I said, I've never seen one in real life. That's my review of the movie. It was boring, and it was uninteresting, and there was some cool shit, but you had to sit through way too much bullshit to even make it worth sitting through to get to those things. Watch it at home, it'd probably be more interesting. The reason I really hated this movie, and this is super unfair, but fuck it, it's what I'm gonna say, because it is not the movie's fault that this happened. This was the worst theater I could have ever watched this movie in. Seriously. It was terrible. There were people sitting right next to me and my buddy who went and saw this movie. And they were the worst. They were those people. They were the cliche, I'm gonna answer my phone, I'm gonna talk over the movie, I've got a kid with me that's way too young to be watching this movie. The kid shit himself, and I could smell this kid's shit, and his parents just didn't change it for like an hour. And then she went to go change it at like the tail end of the movie, and then came back in as the movie had already like basically wrapped up, and was pissed that she missed the ending of the movie when she talked over the rest of it. At one point she was complaining because she thought the movie was going to be PG, and that she wants her money back, like, and she was selling this to her husband. Maybe she was joking, but I still had to hear her fucking unfunny joke. It seriously sucked the air out of the movie, because this movie's trying to be, moody, dreary, atmospheric, mountains and fog and shit. And I'm just hearing that shit over there. And I hated every minute of it. And it reminded me of why I really like watching movies at home. Look, I don't care how much I want to see the movie, how anticipated and excited I am for a movie. Halloween Kills was one of my most anticipated movies of this year. I watched the fucking thing at home. And you know what? I had a great fucking time. I didn't have to go to a theater and have some other dickhead hijack the experience for me. I just got to enjoy the movie with my friends in the comfort of my own home with cheaper snacks. Everything should be released at home. I'm serious. Yeah, movie theater experience. Ooh, I used to be that way also, but fuck it. If they're not gonna, if I'm in a theater full of other people that don't value that experience, it can sink a movie real fucking fast. So even though this movie, I was trying to like ignore that and look at it and be like, okay, what do I actually think of this movie? Am I hating the movie, or am I just hating the experience of watching the movie I'm getting right now? And I think my overall opinion is that the movie is forgetful and really was not worth the huge weight that people had for it. But ultimately, had I watched it at home and these people weren't there, it would have been much more forgivable. Being as I drove way out of my way and paid a bunch of money and sat in a theater full of people who could care less about the fucking movie, yeah, fuck the movie. It sucked, okay? That might be not fair. Maybe someone's a huge Antlers fan and they're like, you need to give it another chance. I'm not gonna. It sucks.
Arco to finish the sign. I don't think there's anybody here, but I'm gonna check it out.
What was that? Thought I heard something.
A movie that didn't suck, and I got to watch in the comfort of my own home on this fucking beautiful TV, Whitetail. You're probably saying, what's Whitetail, Mr. Graves? Well, Whitetail is a short film written, directed, edited, produced, just the whole 9 yards, by a good friend of mine, Sean Norris of the Zom Leader Studios channel. You might have heard of them because he did a series of creepypasta films, which there's 3 of them up right now. He made like 19 of them. I don't know how many there actually are, but he's remastering a bunch of them. He also did short films like Orange. He's working on a new one about alien abductions that him and I have been chatting about. He's a super chill dude, and he lended me footage for some of my projects, namely the Jeff the Killer thing. So yes, while I'm going to be slightly biased, and I am going to be grading with a curve, I am going to be somewhat critical, just to show that I did watch it with a critical eye. I wasn't just sitting there like, my friend made this movie, so it's good. But I do really like the movie, and unlike Antlers, well, really, there's no comparison between Antlers and Whitetail, even though they have names that you'd kind of make them think that they are. It's not about Wendigos. It's about some new monster that Sean came up with himself, and that's always awesome. I know that from speaking to him, he was kind of burnt out on doing creepypasta stuff, and he's got his own ideas that he would like to make his own projects real, and I totally get that as well. This was kind of his first real foray with a big project that he was really proud of to put out that was a totally unique idea that he came up with. What the movie's about is this guy named Eddie. I'm so sorry, Sean, I forget the name of the other 2 characters, but Eddie was the best character, so he burned in my memory. I believe it's his sister, and then her, like, husband, so it'd be Eddie's brother-in-law. 3 of them get together to have a Thanksgiving dinner. So it's a Thanksgiving movie. It fits right in with the season if you're looking for something like that. They get together to have a Thanksgiving dinner, and then some weird kind of eerie shit is going on around the house. So Eddie and his buddy go out there to investigate, and they end up finding this kind of like old deer jerky. I'm skipping a lot of beats here because I don't want to tell you the whole movie, but they find this deer jerky, and like most Midwesterners that would find just random jerky laying around, they gotta try it, and it tends to have some very negative side effects. That's all I'm gonna say. It's very much one of those slow burn, atmospheric movies, and while yes, it is on a shoestring budget, because no shit, if you're watching an independent filmmaker, it's gonna be on a low budget, guys. I'm sorry, it's not gonna look like Antlers, okay? It's a money thing, it's not a talent thing. They turn into creatures, horrific things ensue. Yes, while I would not have even heard of it had I not been friends with Sean already, the point of videos like this is to spread the word about things that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed Whitetail. I watched it twice, because a friend of mine was super looking forward to it also. I think the coolest thing about it was really the opening scene, because that kind of held my interest for the rest of it, even during kind of like the slower moments that are just supposed to be kind of building characters and building atmosphere. The opening scene, you're treated to like this really crazy cast of villainous cult characters with unique names and unique designs and stuff, and cool music and cool lighting, and I'm like, wow, where the fuck is this going? And then as it did progress, it's kind of like one of those cyclical movies where it starts how it ends, and seeing how we get to that position was kind of cool. It was just like an origin story for a group of characters that would totally be at home in a different horror film, like a Wrong Turn. Like, oh, we're driving, and then the car breaks down, let's go look for help, and we get caught by this crazy group of cannibal cult people, and they're weird and crazy, and they've got skulls everywhere, and are doing tribal dances and stuff like that. You'd be like, wow, those guys are terrifying, I wonder where they came from. And then you'd find out from watching Whitetail that, oh, that's their origin story. And from talking to Sean, that kind of was his intention. He's like, yeah, I've got ideas for like things to do with these people afterwards. So I thought that was really cool. There was some really cool practical like creature effects also. Like, granted, they're done on a very shoestring budget, but I always like that because it adds to the charm. You can kind of see how they did certain effects. It really did have that like body horror, like, oh god, that would be terrible to have happen to you kind of effect, and that isolation. The location they shot in, you're very much like in this little house in the woods. It was a great concept, and it's a very specific subgenre that I think Sean, for being his freshman outing into it, tackled beautifully. If I had any criticisms with the movie, it was mainly just stuff that you could tell was done remotely. There's some ADR at one point that could have been better, but it's only for like a brief few seconds. So like, there are segments though where something's very clearly shot months apart from one another, but they were piecing it together. I've been following the process of the production for a while, and I know they were piecing it together for a while, and you can tell where the leaps in time were, or where someone wasn't available to shoot a scene, so they had them double line. But towards the end of the movie, those kind of fall away, so I almost think, correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but did you shoot it in reverse? Was the first part of it kind of shot last, and then you kind of worked your way backwards, because it feels like the ending of the movie where all like the really crazy monster shit was happening was kind of done in one pile. And that's the first movie we reviewed that I actually enjoyed. So let's move on to some more movies that I actually enjoyed. If you'd like to watch Whitetail, by the way, there is a link in the description below. I recommend it. It's way better than fucking Antlers. That's for damn sure. And it's short, so it's not gonna fuck your life over if you try and just pop it in and watch it. However, if you do watch it, and I'm sure Sean will back me up here, don't watch it on your phone. Watch it on TV. If you're watching somebody's like, you know, vlog, sure, watch it on your phone. But if you're gonna watch something like a short film that someone put a lot of fucking work into, don't compromise your experience by watching it on your phone during, like, while you're walking with no headphones in, with like sun glaring on it and there are people around. You're not gonna get the same experience. If you watch Whitetail with friends on a big TV, you turn the lights off, way better experience. That's how I watched it, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it, so.
Arco to Mr. Slime. I think I found something, but I don't know what it is. I'm gonna check it out.
Let's talk about Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho is the... I want to say 6th film by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors. He did Baby Driver. He did Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He did the Cornetto trilogy. This dude just does non-stop home fucking runs. Last Night in Soho is the first film of his that I would say is not a home run, but I still very much enjoyed it. It is a ghost story with great music, with beautiful visuals, with super tight, crisp editing and story progression, just like most Edgar Wright films. A really interesting concept that I haven't seen done in something. I know some people said that it's basic, but I'm like, okay, name another movie, specifically another movie that is a ghost story where someone's like time traveling back and forth between time periods to solve a mystery and linking with some person that they have a lot in common with, but also a lot not in common with, that also is a critique on overzealous rosy-tinted goggle nostalgia that covers up bad shit that happened in the past, that's a critique on modern fashion culture, that's a critique on how women are super fucking toxic to one another, and how that can undercut them in a male-dominated industry. Name another movie specifically like that. Is it basic? No, it's not basic. It's a ghost story. That's what's basic about it. But you could say that about any movie. Like, oh, well, it's this, and that's a genre that has a lot of things in it, so it's basic. No, Last Night in Soho is anything but basic. It's a very unique movie. In terms of how it's trying to scare you, you can definitely tell that it's Edgar Wright's first foray into, like, an actual horror film, because there is a lot of really basic, like, the knife, stabbing, shadow people, red lighting. Like, you know, it's a lot of influences taken from Carpenter, from Giallo films, from James Wan. I heard noise in my apartment. I'm pretty sure it's a fucking ghost. God damn it. That shit pisses me off. You have no idea. The thing that I really liked about the movie was mainly that it had Anya Taylor-Joy in it. I will watch that bitch in anything. She is super fucking talented. I love her and everything. But I also was really impressed with the cast of everybody else. There's just one character. Fuck, I can't remember his name or the actor. It was the black boyfriend character. This dude, holy shit. There is no such thing as a guy this patient. I don't care who the fuck he is. this girl is having these fucking huge, irrational meltdowns, almost getting him killed at one point, and he's still just so fucking patient, like, I want to understand, I want to believe you, tell me what's wrong, I want to help you, and it's like, he's just... If she ever broke up with him at any point after the events of this film take place, she's a fucking bitch, because that guy was... He was gold. He was one in a fucking million. But the way he was written to be just so ridiculously patient with her just seemed unrealistic to me, I guess. My biggest criticism isn't really even a criticism. It's more just that, like, something I personally didn't like. And it's that it's one of those movies that's the horror is not the threat of death. The horror is not fear of the unknown. The horror is in the slow psychological breakdown of a person and how it affects their everyday life. So you see them in lots of very, like, anxiety-riddled situations where they do something humiliating or completely outrageous in front of other people that fucks over their job or their school or makes them look insane, and you get, like, gaslit by it, and it's like that you get that second-hand humiliation from the character, and it's just not entertaining for me to watch things like that. Only because it just stresses me out. I'm not having fun, it's not spooky, I'm not on the edge of my seat, I'm just stressed out. And this movie is so fucking good at making you feel that, like, community of girls and you're the outsider and two-faced talking about you behind your back, that kind of shit. It's so good at recreating that culture and that mentality that it's very fucking ugly to sit there and watch. And there's a lot of characters that you just despise that never really get comeuppance, and so it's like, I don't know, it comes off as a very frustrating experience at times. When it's not doing that, it's a very interesting, very fun 60s romp with some spooky ghost stuff. But other than that, it's either really stressful or it's fun. And it's just ping-ponging back. It had a compelling mystery, but it was a mystery actually that I guessed very early on with the person I went and saw it with. And that was too bad. The climax of the film left a little bit to be desired. Because it's Edgar Wright, and because he has so much money, and because he's such a visionary filmmaker, he couldn't just pare his project down. It couldn't be just a kind of more isolated, haunted ghost movie. It had to be this big, exuberant, like, almost dance number-esque haunting sequence at the end that was so visually striking. I just was like, wow, this is really creative, but I wasn't scared by it. And now, I'm not the type that thinks if a movie wasn't scary, it's therefore not good, but it was more of me just taking in the filmmaking, and not so much being, like, invested in the movie and lost within the world of the movie. So while I enjoyed it, I could see why it might not grab some people. I think if you're an Edgar Wright fan, it's a must-see. I think if you're a girl, this movie will really land with you. I think it's a guy thing. The guys just might miss this, because I saw it with a girl and she loved the movie, and it very much is a feminine-centric film. The villain, the hero, the bully characters, the side characters, everyone is made to service a feminine perspective, and that's fine. I think that's great. I'm just saying that it's very much geared for that. And whether or not Edgar Wright does that well, I think he did, because, like I said, I saw it with... I've talked to several women about it, and they enjoyed it a lot more than men that have seen it did. And I'm capable of getting in touch with my feminine side enough to, like, watch a feminine movie and be like, oh, that was good. I liked that. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. I liked it. Check it out.
What the fuck are you doing here?
My name's Troy. I'm with the Carver Cult. We're out here trying to get some of Jack Carver's remains. Please don't kill me.
go to Sinister Slime. I got it. Mission accomplished.
Okay, before we talk about our big mainline movie, which is going to be Ghostbusters Afterlife, I want to talk about the Deep House, because this is going to be replacing Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was going to be on this list. But if I had waited to see that, with the way that my schedule is, I was just going to be so crunched for time that this drive-in episode wouldn't even get out till December, and I didn't want that to happen, because I don't want to double dip on months with Dante's drive-in episodes. These are supposed to be fun, kind of laid back, let's just talk about movies kind of videos. So let's talk about The Deep House. This was a movie I saw a trailer for, and it's rare. It's a rare thing to see a trailer for a movie about an original movie that's just the concept alone is so interesting to you that you're like, I have to see that. I want to see that as soon as I can. The trailer really sold me on this movie. The concept really sold me on this movie. It's one of those high concept horror films, which you rarely see anymore. A high concept horror film, an example of one would be The Human Centipede. An original idea that's so bonkers that you're like, I have to see that. Humans in a centipede, they eat their own shit. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Let's watch 9 of these. The Deep House is about a haunted house that's underwater. Haunted house, ghosts in it, but it's underwater. That's mind-blowing. That's new shit. Now, I did hear some people say that this movie's basic, or that it's by the numbers, or that it's not really that original. You're a dumbass. You're a fucking dumbass. It's a haunted house that's underwater. That has not been done before. Name one other fucking movie about a haunted house, like a full preserved house, submerged underwater. You can say that there's aquatic ghost stories before, but there's not a movie specifically about a haunted mansion underwater. That the movie takes place almost entirely underwater in scuba suits with underwater type ghosts happening. That's unique. So I had to see it. What did I think of the movie? I thought it was kick ass, and then the ending happened, and then I thought it sucked. It sucked. Why? God damn it. God damn it. Fuck. God damn it. Damn it, man. You had something really good going, and then you just were like, let's just make the ending fucking suck. Let's just shit our pants during the ending of the movie. And then we'll say, fuck you, thanks for paying $14.99 to watch it on VOD, you fucking moron. Don't ever buy our shit again. That'll teach you, you little fucker, to watch our movie, you piece of shit. That's how the ending of this movie felt. It literally was just like, oh, okay, so the most pointless, stupid-ass ending went. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the ending. Because then I almost think if you know the ending, you'll enjoy the movie more, because I want to say it is worth watching. It is worth watching. Even though I'm so pissed about this ending, watch it, because everything up to that point, it had great atmosphere. I liked the characters. Sure, there was some things that weren't that awesome, but the underwater cinematography was breathtaking. It had some kind of cool music in it, really interesting score. I loved the vibe of like getting into the house and the buildup of like what's going on in this house. Who were these people? What were they doing down here? Why is this house haunted? The uncovering of that mystery. But then once the scary shit started happening, it started to falter a bit, but there was still some interesting stuff. And the visual of like a dead person walking underwater after you is scary enough that it made up for a lot of the other kind of like more lackluster scares in the movie. Because there were some that didn't really land, but there were some that really did. And I'm going to give it credit for that. But the ending of the movie, because like I said, spoilers, I'm going to tell you, because if you know, you'll be less disappointed than I was. The ending of the movie is just the characters die. That's it. Like, there's this big build-up to, like, trying to escape. Build-up that the guy that led them to the house is evil. Like, and they kind of have this thing, like, we gotta get out and bring him to justice, or have some sort of resolution with that guy, because he's, like, involved with this fucking family, and they explain this whole lore to it. But then all of that is pissed away by just her, like, dying from drowning. She can't get out of the house in time. She tries to make it to the surface. You're really on her side. And then she drowns, and then the movie stops. It just ends. It's more one of those things, because you're probably thinking like, well, a lot of people die at the end of horror movies. I know that, you fucking moron. I'm talking about like when you just have all of this momentum, and all these things that are unresolved, and then the movie just stops. And I almost feel like that was the intention. Like, that's what they wanted. They wanted you to feel so robbed, and like they take you on this experience, you go look at this house, you uncover this mystery, and then you die. And I'm like, so while yes, I am pissed about the ending, I think that was the intention, and if it was, I think they did that very well. I've just now talked myself into liking the ending of this movie. God damn it! Damn it! Watch The Deep House. I've got other shit on my mind. I want to talk about Ghostbusters, goddammit. What do you think of Ghostbusters Afterlife, they ask. And I say, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife was okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't watch the last one. And when I say the last one, I mean Ghostbusters 2016. I didn't watch it. It was one of those things where I was really excited for it, and I was following kind of like the updates for it as it was being announced, and I'm like, this is gonna be really fun. And they were announcing who the cast was. I'm like, they're gonna be great. They announced Chris Hemsworth as the secretary, and I'm like, oh, that'll be so funny. And then that first trailer came out, and I'm like, oh, it was a bad trailer. And then they put out a second trailer, and it didn't look any better. And then they announced that Ghostbusters Fallout Boy song, and it was terrible. I bought the Twinkies that had slime in them. Those were awesome. And I'm pretty sure I had Ecto Cooler once while I was at the movie theater seeing something else. It was just one of those things that, like, I knew I wasn't going to enjoy it just based on everything. It wasn't made for me, really. So once it came out, I was like, okay, well, then I probably just won't see that, because it's just going to piss me off, and I'm not going to have a good time. And everyone else that did happen to roll the dice and see it, they all told me, like, yeah, it fucking sucked, dude. I'm like, okay, well, then I won't see it. To this day, I have not watched it. I kind of forget that it exists a lot of the time. It's really just one of those incredible fuck-ups in movie history. It's, even if you're, like, a fan of that movie, do you remember being a fan of it? Like, is it your favorite Ghostbusters movie? That'd be a very interesting perspective to have. The first two Ghostbusters movies obviously are burned in my retinas. I have a poster of the first one right here. Footsteps in my fucking house. God. Let me fucking check this shit out. Obviously, the first movie I think is perfect. The second movie I didn't like as a kid, and then I grew to like it because I just wanted more Ghostbusters, and I was willing to take whatever the fuck I could get. The cartoon was really the thing that I was into. I love those voices. Kind of when you say Ghostbusters, that's kind of what comes to mind. And there are some people that feel that way, like that like the movie is great and all, but what you really think of when you say Ghostbusters is the cartoon. And Ghostbusters is one of those things that it's like an anomaly, because they just had the right group to do it, and once you remove them from the equation, it becomes kind of really difficult to still make sparks fly. So Ghostbusters 1, we have Gozer as the villain. Ghostbusters 2, we have Vigo the Carpathian as the villain. I think a great villain. Ghostbusters 2016, it was some guy, and he basically functioned the same way as Gozer did, and there's like a giant monster and stuff. And then in the video game, it's Ivo Shandor, who's character from the movie, and I think he awakens some ancient god. Again, it's a god. It can't just be a ghost. In the new movie, it's fucking Gozer again, and it's like, Ghostbusters on the cartoon, Gozer was never a factor. Like, yeah, they mentioned it sometimes because it was like the big thing that put them on the map, but like there were all these other ghosts to be taken down. The idea of Ghostbusters having like to fight all these crazy monsters, you could have Ghostbusters versus werewolves, you could have a James Wan style Conjuring movie just with Ghostbusters in it, like a haunted house movie, super grounded. Ghostbusters versus the Headless Horseman, Ghostbusters versus Cthulhu, Ghostbusters versus vampires, Ghostbusters versus zombies, like aliens. Like there's so many things you could have them do. In the cartoon, they do those things. And there's all these like great fucking toys and interesting new designs for ghosts and stuff. And I love having ghosts that have backstories. So like you can kind of like know who they were when they were people, and then they become a ghost, like this supernatural creature that could hurt you. That kind of a ghost. Characters like the Scoleri brothers from Ghostbusters 2. I like stuff like that. Ghostbusters Afterlife would rather wallow in their memories of the first movie. And it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to ignore everything and just really hone in on emulating shit from that first movie. And I don't think they ignore Ghostbusters 2, and they don't even really ignore the cartoon, which is nice. But they really do pay a lot of dividend to that first movie. They put a lot of respect on the name of the first movie, which they should, but like, I don't necessarily need to see Stay Puft again. I don't need to see Terror Dogs. I don't need to see literally Gozer again. I don't need to see Gatemaster, Keymaker. I really needed to see the Ghostbusters themselves show up, and they don't do it until the very end. And then it almost kind of like when they did show up, I was like, oh, that's what... Maybe I didn't want to see this, because it was like they're very old. And it's like, great to see them, and it's nice that we finally got that moment for a third time of the 4 of them even blasting ghosts together. And I felt like that was done respectfully. It wasn't like they were like just like puppeting his corpse around and like cashing in on the money. It was done by his friends, you know? So they wanted to see that happen. And so I get that. And I don't think that's really a huge deal. Honestly, I don't. If they had recast him to be like, 'cause they're doing that to the character. They're not like bringing a dead person back to life and pretending they're still alive. They're like, it's a person that is a fictional character. We have to bring that character back. If we have the ability to make him look even more like that character via CGI and stuff, you might as well. And I think it looked really good. It was very spot on. So that was kind of nice. I don't need a Ghostbusters movie that just tackles all of the same shit. Now, the movie is really interested in just showing you things from the first Ghostbusters movie. And there's a lot of criticism levied at this movie for saying like, oh, well, you're fucking, you're doing fan service. It's just nothing but fan service. And you're just bringing up member berries from older shit and using that in place of, you're using nostalgia in place of having an actual story. You don't have characters, you just have characters that are going around. You have like pieces that go and discover old nostalgic stuff to make you go, oh, I remember that. That's from the, you know. And there's a lot of parts of the movie where I was like, oh, that's the thing. I got that. But sooner or later, I did get bored of that experience. Rather than just see things that I remember, I would rather see like a new adventure. And without those core characters, it makes it hard to get invested. And that's not really, they try their best, but I just don't really give a fuck about these new people. I wanted to see the Ghostbusters. And, you know, they show up at the end, and it's great and all, but, like, the Ghostbusters, what I find most appealing about it isn't just, like, the car and the proton pack. And, like, so showing these objects is, like, it's great to have them. But, I mean, that's the movie they wanted to make. I don't think it's necessarily wrong if you're making a sequel to a movie it's been a long time since we've seen a lot of these things, which it has. The Ghostbusters 2016 movie doesn't count because I didn't watch that movie. So, you have that. And you have these video games and stuff, but like for a real movie with the cast all there and stuff, Ghostbusters is one of those things that should have had like 5 movies. Like at minimum, it should have had 4. It should have been like Lethal Weapon 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ghostbusters should have had at least 2 more movies with just totally original villains in each one, and just self-contained like comedies where, oh, we got a new case, let's go look into that. We get to go do this, and we get to go do that, and like that would have been really cool. I would have watched way more of these. It's just such an anomaly that there's only 2 of them. And so then people see it as something that like shouldn't have sequels. When clearly there's a lot, with the cartoon as a perfect example, there's a lot of ground to delve into with Ghostbusters. You can have them go on a lot of different adventures. So people get pissed about like, oh, it's just fan service, just showing all this shit again. And it's like, we haven't seen that fucking car in a long time, so they wanted to see it. God damn it, that doesn't really matter to me. But just like, while I didn't really get teary-eyed over when they take the tarp off the Ecto-1 and shit like that, it's cool. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like the Ecto-1. It's cool. I remember that. But like, I'm not like, oh, it's a Ghostbusters. Like, I wanted to be, I guess. I feel like I would enjoy it more if I did. But the movie is more of like it's geared at a different audience. And Ghostbusters is one of those things that unfortunately has come and gone and will probably never be exactly what I want it to be. I've got 2 movies that I like, and I got a whole cartoon, and there's some comic books I like, and I like the video game, so that's great. But I don't know why we still have to do Gozer. I didn't want a movie that's about people discovering the remains of Ghostbusters stuff and just remembering them, and then at the end of the movie we get the Ghostbusters back together for like a quick scene where they just stand and shoot at something real quick. And I mean, it's a movie for the fans, yes, but and while I am a Ghostbusters fan, I guess I'm not the fan that this movie's targeting. I'm not upset that it's not a comedy. It's clearly going for something else, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't have to be a comedy. They were going for something else. I'm not really even upset about anything. I watched it, I just thought it was fine. But I wanted to, like, love it. I wanted to get so excited. But as I watched that first trailer, and I could tell that it wasn't going to be a Ghostbusters movie. It was a movie that was set in the Ghostbusters universe, where people are picking up the rubble of what was left of the Ghostbusters after some big event happened. And so that's the movie they set out to make, and I think it succeeded well at that. And what I was going to say about the nostalgia thing before I got fucking interrupted was that I don't think it's bad to make a movie that's strictly going for nostalgia. That's just what you're doing. While I think it's more effective to just tell a story that stands on its own, there is a place for movies that are specifically for just like, hey, remember that feeling, you know? And that's fine. It seriously is fine. If you're not really connected to that, sure, that movie's gonna leave you in the dust, but not every movie is made to be watchable by everybody. While I was kind of left out of this movie because I didn't cry and shit myself when they showed the Ecto 1, I feel like if someone was really touched by that, that's fine. It's been a long time. Life fucking sucks and is hard. Sometimes people just want to see something they remember, you know? And it's not like there's like 90 Ghostbusters movies to choose from. This is only the third one in like 40 years. So like, get the fuck over it. I don't care. Oh, fan service. Ooh, shut the fuck up, you fucking moron. Why don't you go gain a fucking childhood? Go gain some hobbies of yourself. I'm sure there's something I could show you that you'd be really touched by and remember a fond time in your life. Not everybody just has a fucking glowing, awesome existence, and sometimes it's just comforting. It's nice to have comfort food movies. People haven't gotten to see a fucking actual Ghostbusters experience in a long time. This movie tried its best to, like, do a slow crawl to it and set up new things, but ultimately I thought it was fun. I don't know. I've completely just ran out of things to say. Ghostbusters Afterlife, check it out, I guess. But if you want to see some real ghost shit, watch The Haunting of Munson House.
Oh! Mr. Graves, is that you? Mr. Graves, I didn't know there was other ghosts here. Mr. Graves?